My name is Irina, and this is the story of how one corporate evening completely changed my life. I'm sure many of you have had those moments when everything seems perfect, and then, in the blink of an eye, everything falls apart. That evening was exactly that for me, a moment that still leaves a mark on my heart, and I know that nothing will ever be the same again. My story began like most others. The corporate party. For all of us, it was just a chance to relax, have fun, and relieve some of the tension after a long year of work. We, the marketing department, were eagerly looking forward to the evening, as we were always given a chance to spend time outside of the office. I had been working at the company for 3 years, and this corporate event was supposed to be one of the most memorable. We chose a restaurant by the lake, organized an entertainment program, and ordered a fantastic menu. My husband, Alexei, couldn't make it to the party because he had to work that day. And honestly, I was kind of glad about that. Corporate events had always been a bit of a double-edged sword for me, a place where people tried to show off their best sides. But I believed everything would be fine, and I was just part of the team, not an object of attention. But even if I had known what would happen, I wouldn't have believed it. The first encounter with Dmitry. I noticed him even before we started drinking and having fun. Dmitry, our new department head who had joined our team a couple of months ago. A man in his mid-40s, always confident, calm, like he knew everything in life. But there was something in his gaze. He always seemed a bit too attentive, almost overly concerned. And then, when the party began, Dmitry approached me. A cocktail in hand, a smile on his face, full of charm and charisma. He offered to drink together, and though I wasn't the type to drink much at corporate events, I agreed. We began talking, and like it often happens at such parties, the conversation smoothly shifted to more personal topics. We talked about life, our hobbies, and our families, and he started asking questions that seemed to hit right at the heart. He told me about his life, how difficult it had been working at other companies, how he felt now at his new position. I listened, and the more we talked, the more I felt a strange chemistry. At some point, I noticed that he was getting closer than necessary. His hand accidentally brushed against my back, and I could feel his warmth. It was unexpected, but I didn't pull away. When we lost control. Time passed, and alcohol started doing its job. People around us were laughing, dancing, and I continued talking with Dmitry. He invited me to dance, and though I wasn't drunk, I agreed. The dance was more intimate than I expected. His movements, his breath near my neck, it all felt so close that I lost all control. Our bodies were pressed together. I felt his hand on my waist, his breath on my neck, and inside, something started to give way. I knew this was wrong, but I couldn't stop. We danced for what felt like hours, and I lost track of time. I saw that fire in his eyes, the kind I hadn't seen in my relationship with Alexei. And though I felt guilty, I couldn't deny the pull. And then, at some point, he kissed me. I immediately pulled away, but he didn't let go. And in that moment, I felt my heart beat faster and my mind lost control. We couldn't stop. What happened after the kiss? The next morning, I woke up with a headache and a hollow feeling inside. I felt like I had lost a part of myself. I still remembered his lips, his hands, his scent. I tried to focus, but I couldn't. I was late for work that day, and when I arrived, I saw Alexei, who was still working. I couldn't bring myself to tell him what happened at the party, even though I could see that something had changed. At work, the atmosphere was tense. Dmitry started acting strangely. Sometimes he joked with me. Sometimes it felt like he was avoiding my gaze. It bothered me a little, but I decided not to make a big deal out of it. However, his behavior kept getting weirder. He started becoming overly persistent, and late at night, I began receiving messages from him. They weren't outright inappropriate, but there was something in those words that made me uncomfortable. It was all becoming increasingly intrusive. The real consequences. A few weeks later, after I had tried to avoid Dmitry, I noticed that his attention was increasingly shifting toward my coworker Vika, and while I felt relieved that he was finally focusing on someone else, inside I couldn't shake the feeling that our secret was still hanging in the air. Alexei never found out about what happened. Though I could sense doubt, dissatisfaction, and even some worry in his gaze, he never asked me a direct question. I decided to leave it in the past, but as is often the case with such things, it always leaves a mark. I realized that in that moment, I had destroyed not only my own morals, but also the trust we had in our relationship. I couldn't believe I'd let myself become part of something like that. Conclusion. Now, when I think back on it, I understand how deeply I went wrong. Dmitry never became the person I'd want to build a future with, and Alexei, my husband, is the one I truly want to be with. I still don't know why I did it, but I've definitely learned that trust is not something you can easily rebuild. The corporate party that was supposed to be a time for fun and lightheartedness turned into a lesson I will never forget. And even though I know that infidelity wasn't the only thing that tore apart my marriage, I'll never forget the shadow it cast.